Hi everyone, and this is another small episode. What I wanted to try and do over the next few weeks and maybe ongoing is trying to create a number of small episodes for the podcast, and we'll in those smaller episodes we'll look at what we've been doing on a day-to-day basis, just give a little bit of an overview of what it takes to build a new business. So with that said, let's go to the intro.
This is the Passive Income is Real podcast. Follow as we build an online business. No nonsense, no fake info. It's all real and it is possible. We will prove it and show you how. And this is your host, Robert Jones.
And this weekend was no exception. Been busy working on the website. We'd already previously registered a domain for the new cycling website business. We'd created set that up on a GoDaddy account, and we're sharing that website on an existing GoDaddy hosting account, which is quite handy, that GoDaddy enables you to do that. So I spent a bit of time figuring that out to enable access to the new domain on the new host, and been looking at creating a few posts on the What Free Matter website. And as part of that, what I really wanted to try and do was create a better approach to content and not just create and write posts that, whilst useful, perhaps much the same as what's already out there. And what I wanted to try and do was align that across a number of channels, so that being YouTube, the blog and this podcast. And so what I've been working on is beginning to set up the channels, and then the content would vary slightly on the different platforms, but we would link it all together and therefore get benefit from delivering similar sort of content for the relevant blog posts. So let's take an example that I've been working on over the weekend, which was creating a blog post for setting up a podcast. And that's a bit of a work in progress because I wanted to try and put some meaningful info in there. But also then if I create a similar sort of content on YouTube, change that to be a bit more video orientated, and then also cover off a podcast episode, for example, we can cross-link all of those different items, and we'd have some really useful content that visitors or listeners could sort of refer to depending on their preference for channel. And I think it would just help with quality of content, and that's really partly what I've been sort of thinking a bit about over the weekend. And then the second blog post that we're going to work on in a similar way is designing a logo. What you often find, or what we've found in the past, is that you can create logos yourself, for example, or you can pay for a logo to be created for you. And in this blog post, I've started to do a little bit of research on what we wanted to do for the new cycling website. I went for a few options for creating a free logo, so canva.com, Photoshop, so you can create your own logo in Photoshop, for example, or there's fiverr.com. So if you go on to Fiverr, for example, that gives you a paid option. And in the end, we've gone with a paid option, and we'll be sharing the output from that, so you can see the logo and what we get out of it. It enables us to have a consistent theme across a couple of different channels. So we pay our one-off fee, and we get our logo that's suited to those relevant channels, such as Twitter or Facebook, for example. So quite useful to have that done, and it actually saves us a lot of time. We end up with a more professional result, we feel. As I say, it's going to come down to personal preference, and we've definitely gone the free route in the past ourselves, but we felt this time round we'd get a quicker turnaround and a better result going with paying for logo and social media pack via fiverr.com, and we'll be sharing that on the blog post and on the other relevant channels. So on this podcast at some point, perhaps going into a bit more detail, and then also via YouTube with a slight variant on that, and we'll cross-link those through the blog. The big point I wanted to get across here a little bit is that we're going for quality rather than just creating lots of blog posts that can be readily found all over the place. And so we're trying to just create a bit more quality content that will be of value to users, that is perhaps slightly different than might be already available if we look at how we're applying that to the different channels in a joint up manner. So we'll wrap up this little short episode in terms of what we've been up to over the weekend there, and I hope that's been slightly useful and just gives you a bit of context about what's going on with What Free Matter and the new cycling website, which we'll be revealing more details about soon. Thanks everyone, see you again soon.